Hey guys, this is Mr. H. Hey, um, the last couple of weeks we've been working on the quadratic formula. This week we are working on completing the square. And one of the things I wanted you guys to understand is that basically these are two methods that basically accomplish exactly the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one question and I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to do it as a quadratic using the quadratic formula, and then I'm going to do it by completing the square. And I want you guys to see that basically these are the same technique. um, they get to the same result with a little different process. But all right, so let me jump into this. So very first thing you're going to see is I have this equation 5x squared plus 40x equals a negative 75, and I'm going to use the quadratic formula. Now remember, in order to use the quadratic formula, this quadratic equation has to be equal to 0. Right now it is not. So that means I need to move this negative 75 to the other side. So I'm going to add 75 here, and I'm going to add 75 here. So this is going to be 0. So what I'm going to have now is it's going to be 5x squared plus 40x. Now I can't add the 75 to either one of those terms because they both have variables. So I just have to add the 75 here, and that's equal to 0. So I can write my equation 5x squared plus 40x plus 75 equals 0. Now the A, B, and C, that's when you find the A, B, and C. So A is going to be 5. The B is positive 40 and the C is 75 since we moved it over. Now, remember, you always have to fill in the quadratic formula. Use the quadratic formula and then substitute in your numbers. So the B is going to be 40. The B squared is going to be 40. The A is going to be 5. This A down here is going to be 5. And then the C value is 75. So now, the way that I've taught you guys how to do this, so let me just go and I'm going to get the calculator now, and I'm going to let the calculator take us home from here. So very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in those values for A, B, and C. So A was 5, so I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to store that into the letter A. And then I'm going to take B, which was 40, and store that into B. And then I'm going to take the C value and I'm going to store that into C. Press enter. From here, I'm just going to type in the quadratic formula, but I'm going to type it in with the letters. So I need a stack fraction. So this is going to be a negative B plus or minus, but we don't have a plus or minus key, so I'm going to do the plus first, and then I am going to do the minus. So it's going to be B squared minus 4 times A, oops, 4 times A times C, and then that's all divided by 2A. 2A. And then once you have this, you just press enter. And it tells you that one of the roots is going to be a negative 3. Now, all I have to do from here is copy it, come here to the plus, and change that to a minus. And then press enter again, and that gives me the other root. So I can go back and finish this. So if I go back to my iPad, this is going to be x equals a negative 3 and x equals a negative 5. Let me make sure I got that right, but I think, yep, negative 3 and negative 5. All right, so that's it. That's done. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to look at the b squared minus 4ac because these are rational numbers. These are integers. We're good. We're done. There's no decimals, anything like that. If we had done this and there were decimals, then we would have to go back and we would have to look at the b squared minus 4ac part. But this one, we just have rational numbers. So we're done with this one. Now, I'm going to do the same thing. Well, let me go back. Remember, the key for this one is that the equation has to be equal to 0. So I needed to do that part for. Now I'm going to do completing the square, and I got to show you what needs to be true for that one in order to use completing the square. So now here I have it again, same equation. It's 5x squared plus 40x equals a negative 75. Now this one has the constant already over on the other side, so it's almost ready to go already. But here's the issue. 5x squared is not a square. It's actually a rectangle. So if you look at all of these, if you add all of these x squares together, you don't have a square anymore. And you need to have a square to begin with in order to complete the square. You always start with the square and then you are going to use the rectangle to make a bigger square. But this is not even a square. So that means we need to get rid of some of these. So let me go back and that's what we're going to do. So we need to have a square, right? So that means the way we're going to do that is we're going to divide this by 5. We're going to divide this by 5. And we're going to divide this by 5. All right, so now watch how that happens in my world. So I'm just going to take this one. I'm going to delete. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to delete it. And I'm left with 1 now. Because if I divide by 5, that's what I have. So this is going to be 1x squared plus 8x equals a negative 15. Now, because I had to divide that, I'm starting over here with 40. So I got to divide this by 5 too. Now, this is not actually proportional, but this is kind of what's going on. So same thing. This was 40, but I got to divide this by 5 as well. So I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to take this other piece and I'm going to get rid of that. So now here is kind of my new equation. So this is my new quadratic part. So now, and by the way, this is no longer 40. This is 8. So this is x times x to give us 1x squared. This is going to be, I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it over. So this is now 8x. Now we're going to, since we're starting with the square, now we can complete the square. And just like we've done in the video that the examples that I did before, you're going to take this and cut it in half. So I'm going to take this half of 8 and I'm going to move it right here. And so that means this side, this length is 4. And then I'm going to come here. I'm going to take the other one and I'm going to flip it. And then I'm going to move it over here. Now, I got to get this set up. Right, so that's where it goes. Now, so I've almost completed the square. This has a side of 4. I just need to figure out what should I add in here to complete the square. Now, from here, you should know, okay, this is 4 and this is 4. So the area of this little square is going to be plus 16. So that's what I need to add. Let me move this over a little bit. Equals. That's what I need to add to this side to complete the square. But if I'm adding 16 to the left side of the equation, I also have to add 16 to keep it in balance to the right side of the equation. Now, so over here, this is just going to be a negative 15 plus 16, which is going to be a positive 1. And now all I'm going to do is I am going to use this side and I'm going to multiply times this side to get the area. So this is going to be x plus 4 squared. Now, we're almost done. From here, we're just going to take the square root of the left-hand side and the square root of the right-hand side. So this is going to be x plus 4, and this is just going to be plus or minus 1, because the square root of 1 is plus or minus 1. Now we're almost done. Let me erase this. So this is going to be x equals, one of the equations is going to be 4 plus 1, and one of the equations is going to be, actually this is going to be a negative 4, because I got to subtract 4 from both sides, right? So this is going to be a negative 4 minus 1. So our final two answers, as just like we got with the quadratic equation, quadratic formula, is this is going to be a negative 3. That's one solution. And our other solution is going to be a negative 5. This is what we need to do in order to complete the square. We got the same answer as we did over here. So we know that this is good. Now, the one thing, again, if you have a leading coefficient that is not a 1, you're going to have to divide all of the terms by whatever the leading coefficient is, because you want to start with the square, 1 square, and then you can build from there. You're going to take the rectangle, break it into half to make a bigger square. All right, now I hope that this helps you understand that basically these two processes are going to get you to the same end. In my next video, I'm going to show you that completing the square and the quadratic formula are essentially the same thing. All right. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to stop and then I'm going to post this.